Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to paint this little bunny in a magical forest with gouache. You could use acrylic gouache, water-soluble gouache, or acrylic paint for that. I'm using acrylic gouache by Holbein and I'm picking out my colors, which is mostly purples, greens, pink and an orange, and I just added more when I needed it. So here are all the colors. Then I did my sketch, which is basically just a bunny on a rock. You could put any animal on there, or you can take a screenshot of my sketch and follow along with the same thing. Now we're mixing the first color. There's a lot of mixing in this video, so here's the first section of mixing. But I mean, it is very sped up because mixing takes forever for me, and I try to mix enough paint so it can go through the entire background, but it was still not enough. It's never enough. I never mix enough paint, so if you have the same problem, you're not alone. And what I did to salvage that, because it's really hard to remix the same color, is that I made a gradient, and in the end I'm really happy with that gradient. So I did that by basically just mixing a bit of a darker version and then another darker version that looks almost black on camera, but it's a very dark purple. And now I'm mixing again, and this is gonna be a similar color than before, but with a little bit of green in there. So I'm gonna do the foreground with this, and then we have already filled most of the page, which is awesome because then you have something to get started on and you don't have to look at this white page and be terrified. So really easy and simple to just fill it and block it in. And then I'm mixing a green tone, a very, very dirty green tone, and I used that for my first layer. It's a very dark green tone, so I started with that and then built up lighter colors over time. So here you can see that I just did those squiggly lines that are supposed to be leaves or just greenery in general. I don't know what kind of plants those are, but they look a little bit spooky at that point, to be honest. And then I started to mix my color for the rock, and I wanted to have this orange kind of color, but a little bit muted so it wouldn't stand out too much. I think it stands out quite a lot, honestly, but it's okay. I muted it a little bit, and then I started to blend, and you have to be very quick with this, because if you're using an acrylic medium like acrylic gouache or just acrylic paint, then don't let the paint dry. And I'm being serious here. If you let it dry, then it's too late to blend it, and it dries incredibly quickly. So this is a rush against time. And here you can see I did a little bit of sparkles in the background and then obviously wiped a bit of it away. Don't wipe anything away if you're using water-soluble gouache, because it will ruin your painting. But with a waterproof medium, that's okay if the background layer has already dried. So here you can see I'm blending more and more. I mean, you can go over it if it has already dried, but it's just so much harder. So try to blend everything when it is still wet. And now I'm mixing my next green tone, which is a little bit lighter. So we're gonna create a lot of depth by just making every green section a little bit brighter. And the brighter it is, the more in the foreground it is. So you can go over the ones that you did previously. And especially with acrylic gouache, I love the fact that it does not reactivate the previous layer, and you can really build up the layers as much as you want. I've never had a problem with it cracking or anything. That's why I love this medium so much. So here we have the third layer of the greenery, even brighter. I mixed in a little bit of the orange to make it a little bit warmer. You can add a little bit of yellow or just make it brighter. And obviously I also added in white, and I love to add in white with my gouache because it kind of I mean, obviously it makes it brighter, but it also takes a little bit of the saturation. Black and white take a little bit of it away. And I did not want this piece to be too saturated, so that's why I mixed a little bit more muted colors. And here you can see I'm really going over the previous greenery. That's why I didn't do anything super detailed at first, because we're gonna add a lot of layers. And now I'm mixing the pink for the bunny. That was actually hard to get the right color because I wanted it to look cute. And I'm not sure if I'm even completely happy with the end result color that I came up with, but I wanted it to be pink, and so here we are. And I think it has kind of this cotton candy pink color, maybe even a little bit brighter. I think maybe a little bit more onto the warm side would have looked good, a little bit into the orange direction, but it is the way it is now. Here you can see I used the same color for the flowers in the background, because if the animal is the only thing that is a certain color in your painting, it won't really flow with the rest of the painting. So I wanted it to really make sense and repeat the color a little bit in the painting. So now I have an even brighter green tone. This time we are almost white. So there's very little added and it's very white. And we are just building up the next layer. By the way, if this tutorial is a little bit too quick for you, because obviously it's sped up for YouTube, then I really recommend checking out all of my Skillshare courses, and also stay tuned because I will do a course launch soon where I will do another course, and I will probably sell that one myself, but I still have to figure out where to host it. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, check out the link in my description box for my Skillshare courses, because those are much slower and go more into depth. So we're building more and more of this and adding in more of that greenery, and I think that's so fun because it's actually quite easy, especially those branches that I'm doing here. You just do a line at first, then those little blobs, and then make sure that the blobs are connected to the line. You can see it here, and it's actually quite simple, but I think it gives you a really good effect, and I really love the effect that you get by starting with darker greens and then going more into the foreground with brighter ones. So here you can see I'm mixing a pretty dark color, lots of purple, little bit of green. I like to add a little bit of color that will desaturate the whole thing, which is why I added in green. And now I'm using that color, sort of like a line art color, to start to define my bunny. And I went a little bit back and forth with the line art. And at first he only had one eye because I thought that the other eye was looking into the other direction. But then my girlfriend mentioned, hey, why does your bunny only have one eye? And so I felt very gracious and added another eye, so he will have two. But if you have a bunny with only one eye, I mean, that's so cute. So he's like a little pirate. So, I mean, all rights for bunnies with just one eye. But continuing with our video, here we can see clearly that I'm mixing again. I spend a lot of time mixing, to be honest. I really had to sped that up so much because the video would have lasted 4 hours. The original footage was almost 4 hours, so that's what you can expect if you paint the exact same scene with the exact same amount of detail. And here you can see that I'm doing some clover, is that the right word? I have no idea. I should really look up those words before I'm filming, but I always forget about that. Yeah, English is not my first language, so bear with me. And I'm doing a little bit of leaves in the foreground and just filling in everything a little bit, to be honest. I mean, we don't have anything in the foreground at that point. Now he got his second eye, yay, finally. Now he can fully see. And we are doing some more kind of line art. I just wanted to get that back after doing a bit of a layer. And I think at that point he looked kind of like a marshmallow or something like that. And I kind of like it. And also kind of don't. I don't know what to think about it. And now I'm mixing again. I mean, what else would I be doing? And I add in a lighter green tone to our clovers. Let's hope that that's the right word, because I'm going with that. And then, just defining it. I thought, where would the light be? Kind of random. Here you can see my little kitty cat. Obviously, he is putting his head into the camera, because why would you own cats if they don't appear on screen? And I'm just trying to figure out where the light would be hitting, kind of from above, maybe the left, which doesn't make any sense because in the gradient it's dark on the left. But hey, this is a very illustrative style, and I don't think people mind too much where the shadows and highlights are, so play around with that however you want. And I did a little bit of details on the leaves in the foreground, and then obviously mixing again and adding in a little bit of more grass to the rocks, because these rocks were just there and they really need to go with the painting a little bit more. They need to be integrated into the landscape a little bit more. So this is why we have a bunch of scenery around the rocks now, and I'm doing that in different colors, a mid-tone green, now a little bit of a darker one, and doing these kinds of blobs with lines again. And now I decided to add a little bit of definition to the foreground, background, whatever that is, and did those little dots to make that look a little bit more interesting as well. And I did it in a previous art piece and I really liked the way it looked, so that's what I did here as well, and I think it looks kind of cute. I certainly have to experiment a little bit more with that, but I really like the effect that you get from it, and it has a very specific style. Then I added in even more greenery in the foreground, and I did a little bit more detailed greenery in the background and added in a little bit of details there. I built up all of those layers a little bit more and did a few flowers in the foreground as well. And I also went over the bunny a bunch of times because I wasn't sure if I was completely happy with it, but in the end it looked almost the same again as it did before, so you can completely skip that part. And to make it look a lot more magical, I added in a few sparkles, and then I did some more details on the greenery. Then I added in the brightest color and finished up the painting, and this is what the end result looks like now. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check out my courses. I'll see you next time. Goodbye!